Hi, my name is Sasha Belitskaja and I'm a co-founder at iheartblob. Welcome to this Introduction to Live Academy Intermediate class covering Unity and AR Foundation.
Hi, my name is Shaun Mcallum. I'm a co-founder at iheartblob. Welcome to this Introduction to Live Academy Intermediate class covering Unity and AR Foundation.
Hi, my name is Ben James. I'm a co-founder at iheartblob, and welcome to this Introduction to the Live Academy Intermediate class covering Unity and AR Foundation. To get set up, the only software you need to install is Unity. And please make sure you download all of the course materials. During the class, we'll cover how to work with additional tools within the Unity setup. So in order to download Unity, we're going to go to unity3d.com/getunity/download. It brings you to a page that looks like this. And to begin with, we're going to download Unity Hub. So if you click on this button right here, it'll open up a download file, setup file, and go ahead and agree to the terms of service. Choose an install location by default and click Next. Okay, you can go ahead and finish. Make sure that Run Unity Hub is clicked so that it will open up. Now, here in Unity Hub, you have a few different tabs. You have the Projects tab, where you will show any current projects that you're working on, a Learn tab and a Community tab, and most importantly, an Install tab. So you can see right now I have 2 versions of Unity installed on my machine. You probably don't have any listed here, so you're going to want to add a version of Unity. Click Add. You can see here Unity lists its kind of recommended and current releases. So we're going to go ahead and download this 2020.1.13, but in your case, since the current release may be later, what's important is to go to this download archive, click here, and this lists all of the different Unity releases going back several years. So find Unity 2020.1.13, this will be the version that we're using, and click Unity Hub. It's going to ask you to open it in Unity Hubs. And now you have the install process here. For our purposes, we are only going to need to put in the Android build support and the iOS build support, which will be important for the augmented reality apps. And you can go ahead and keep the documentation clicked. You don't need any other additional functionalities. So go ahead and click Install, and then this process is going to take a few minutes. Now that Unity is installed, you can go into the Projects tab and start a new project. If you have older versions of Unity, make sure to select this 2020.1.13 version. And if you don't have older versions of Unity, this will be your default version. We're going to use the universal render pipeline because it gives us access to a little bit more advanced functionalities in Unity. And we're going to go ahead and name our project something like iheartblob workshop 1, and choose a file location, a save location that works for you. Then go ahead and click Create. And now Unity has opened up into a new sample scene. Now it's also necessary to add a few modules into the Unity file that we've just installed. So if you go back to the installs page here in Unity Hubs and you click these 3 dots, you'll get the option to add modules. Select that, go ahead and open up Android build support, and make sure that you install these 2 modules, the Android SDK and the OpenJDK. Go ahead and click Next. Go ahead and agree to the terms and conditions. And the install is now taking place. Now that these modules are installed, we can open back up the Unity file.
Within this class, we'll be looking at how we can start to build our own augmented reality applications with Unity and AR Foundation. So for an outcome of the class, we'll be looking for everybody to be able to have installed their own app. So we're going to build our own apps for our mobile device, whether that be for Android or for iOS. And it's not specific, so you can use an iPad or whatever you'd like, or a tablet. We just have to adjust accordingly. So we'll go through the basics of the theory of AR. So how does augmented reality work? How do we use it? Which devices can we use it for? And of course, the use cases within the industry. And we'll look at how the AR works, whether it's plane tracking using something like SLAM, or if it's image tracking, we're going to vary it up a little bit. So here's just a basic introduction of how we'll install Unity. We'll introduce how to set up user interfaces, and we'll actually design out a full user interface where we can switch scenes. We'll look a little bit into the C#, get a better understanding of the sprites and how we can actually input our own graphics as well. We've supplied 9 small arches that, well, they're not small in real life, but some arches that we can utilize, and we're going to go through the steps essentially of how we can import models, how we can texturize them, how we can build our own node-based textures as well using shader graph, and also we'll have a look into seeing how we can animate those textures with shader graph as well.
We're going to do an overview of custom C# scripting. C# is the language that Unity runs on. And so it's important to know when you want to make custom components, custom animations, or custom functionalities, you'll have to do that from a scripting perspective. So we'll walk you through how to write a script and some of the scripts we've written for this particular workshop. Those scripts will be kind of an intermediate level because they'll work with both list and loop components, and they'll activate different vectors within C#. We'll work with animations. So animations are a great way to show something dynamic in your model, to show the nuances of the design, maybe from 360 degrees, maybe an exploded axonometry. And there's different ways to do this in Unity, so we'll work with both simple methods and more advanced ones. We'll work with setting up your AR scene. So this is important for everything from tying your augmented reality to a specific object to how to do it within a more general context, which is really what this is going to focus on. So you'll be able to take your architecture design and place it in your room, look at it at scale, look at it in a realistic setting, and that adds a level of depth and realism that can help influence your design. We'll go through the whole build process in this class, which means that at the end of the workshop, you'll be able to take an architecture design into Unity and export it as a augmented reality model on your phone that you can view in real time. So we'll use our prefab models for this, but the same exact process and setup is available for your own geometry, which means that at the end of the course, you should be able to take this exact workshop and even the same project files so that you can visualize your designs in augmented reality. We'll set up a VR scene for your project, which means whereas in augmented reality, you're able to see the objects in space, in your room or outside using your phone. In VR, you'll actually be able to step into a custom scene with lighting and shading for your objects, to view your objects. And it means that you'll be able to look around, to physically move your phone up and down to see the different aspects of your design at scale and in real time. We'll also cover some very nice post-processing effects, things like particle systems and shaders that allow you to make your geometry look unique and look in and meet an aesthetic criteria that really is not achievable in other softwares, and that's pretty unique within architecture at the moment. So we'll go through When the course is finished, you'll be able to create a custom user interface with custom functionality depending on C# scripts that we've written. You'll be able to look at your designs in augmented reality, to place it in the room next to you and scale it up to look at it at 1-to-1 scale, and to view it in virtual reality with all of these various post-processing and aesthetic effects that we go through.
And I'm going to show you some videos of the augmented reality in place as well. So here you can see some of the features, being able to move the objects in place and being able to scale and so on, and get it up to the correct scale, or to make it quite small as well.
We're looking here at one of the scenes we've set up. This would be our home screen. So this is really where we're going to do a lot of our work with our user interface. And we can see that there's a few different things we can do. When we press the play button here, which activates our application, we've set up an animation such that the materiality is changing colors, is rotating, and there are certain effects like this particle system here. And all of these little details kind of provide for a nicer user experience. But they all take work to set up, and that's what we're going to go through in this course. So you'll see in the viewer here, we can kind of understand how our particle system is working, and we can control certain aspects of that particle system. So if we go here, we can increase the size of the particles. We can make the particles speed up. We can modify the gravity of the particles. So here you see that they're kind of falling down a bit more. We can change the colors of the particles that fade over time. We can also work with some of the lighting effects in our scene, because since this is all essentially three-dimensional information, we're able to make controls. And you see, based on our materiality, we can highlight accents of different parts of the project. You see that the functionality of our project here means that if we click the AR button, we'll go into our new scene. If we look here at our virtual reality scene or our VR scene, we can see some of the geometry in there. We can start to understand how Unity is working with this different geometry to show kind of our clustering of objects here. If we hit the play button again, we'll see that we launched this screen here. And because of the way the camera is facing, it's going to look down for now. Maybe don't use that. We can see the different materials. So with all of these objects, we're using a variety of different materials. We're using even a variety of different ways of creating those materials that we're going to go through in this course. So how to create things like gradients, how to create things that are moving as they are, that are animated as materials. So you can see on this object here, the materiality is moving across it. We're also going to work with some of these objects themselves and do things like explode them, for example. So here we can see that the object is exploding. Again, we can use our navigation pane here to get to different aspects. And again, explode those objects out so that we can understand the underlying components behind them. And all of this can be triggered not only here in the scene window, but in real time according to the type of user experience you'd like to give. And this is what we're going to be showing you in the course. We're going to go through how to write these. For example, these explode scripts are custom scripts that we've written so that they can be applied to this geometry. and they're written in such a way that they can also be applied to the geometry you create. So we're going to close these objects here. Again, you can see some of the post-processing effects that we're going to show you how to put on, this kind of glow effect, these particle systems, these various types of shaders for the kind of clean materiality you see here. Because ultimately, what we'd like to take advantage of here is that Unity is a new type of platform for architects. And as a result, there are certain features in Unity that simply aren't available in our traditional architecture software. So in this intermediate course, we're really going to go into those. We're going to go into how to access those, and we're going to go into the different reasons you might use them, either within practice, within forms of architectural representation, within academic projects and research. And that will help us to create nicer scenes, to create more interesting setups that we can really use together. We're going to go through the different ways to deal with canvases and user interface, because it can be a bit confusing when you first start to see that on the one hand, your model down here is so small, but in the game view is actually centered in the screen. We're going to go how to add text overlay to your object and what that means, and how you would incorporate that not only into your design, but into your narrative for how you present projects within augmented and virtual reality space. We're going to go through all of the detailed settings as well that are kind of necessary in order to understand how to show your geometry in the best way and how to make trade-offs between different devices. So something as simple as how do we want the shadows to appear? You'll see that when the camera is further away, these shadows no longer appear. But there's a trade-off there between the performance of the system and the user themselves. So we'll set up scenes such in a way that the users won't really notice these trade-offs because we're designing the project specifically to suit their needs. In this case, the user will typically be, since it's a virtual reality scene, somewhere at this level where the shadows are appearing nice and crisp, and we don't need them to appear from a certain distance, which would affect memory and performance. We'll go through things like how to trigger scripts from calling them in C#. So for example, here, a custom script that we wrote, we've written in a specific function just so that we can see it happen in real time and call it from the user interface. So we'll go through this kind of functionality and why you might write a script in this way to create a better user experience. This course isn't going to be so much about creating different types of geometry. It's going to be about how do you leverage something like a game engine like Unity and like augmented reality through AR Foundation in a way to represent and explain your project in the best way possible and in a way that's genuinely unique given the capabilities of this tool that are simply not present in other traditional forms of architecture representation.